I actually like flipped my hair up after I got out of the shower. I almost gave myself whiplash.
That's funny.
Hi, everybody. Hey, Run Junkies. Hey, Laura. Laura's back.
Hi.
And today we have Coach Christine Hinton. She's like the most awesomest coach ever. So welcome, Christine. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yes, thanks for having me. This is awesome.
Hello.
Thank you.
We're going to have a little bit of fun here. We posted some questions on the Joyful Miles Running Club, and I'm leaving a link to that in the description below. If you're not already a member, come join us.
They have some great questions.
Really good questions. So welcome, Vlogtober Day 15. Oh my gosh, we're halfway through. It's Vlogtober with Joyful Miles and Running with Grace. It's Vlogtober. So Christine, before we dive into the questions, why don't you tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, and what makes you just the most awesome coach ever?
Oh, so I am a running coach.
The running coach.
The running coach. Yes. I was one of the original kind of online coaching, because whenever I tell people like therunningcoach.com, they're like, how did you get that? I'm like, I was there when the crack of the beginning of the whole online thing.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I know. I lucked out, but yeah, so I've been doing it for, I guess almost 20 years now that I've been coaching on some level. I've coached across the board from high school athletes to college athletes to adults to right now I'm doing a middle school thing. And then I have my private practice where I coach cool runners like Heather to help them reach whatever goals that they have going on. I've done a million things in the past running related. My head is like full of running knowledge, articles, worked with Another Mother Runner for a while, and all that kind of good stuff. And then I have a completely different side of my life where I work in the school system. So
it sounds like you have your plate full. And that's how I found you, through Another Mother Runner.
Yes.
Through the Train Like a Mother club. Well, originally through the book.
Right. Yes.
Train Like a Mother. And
I created all those. So.
Yeah, those, and I started following those plans, and I'm like, I'm going to see if I can just get in touch with her directly. And so that's how I ended up finding you.
Awesome. Yeah.
So, yeah. Laura, do you want to start? Let's start firing away. Let's start firing these questions off at Christine, see if she can keep up.
Here, I'm going to go with the easy one first.
Okay.
All right, the first question is from Jen Sorensen. Thank you, Jen. She's asking about a conversation about mistakes everyone makes and how to get past them versus mistakes to really try to avoid.
You mean in a race environment or in
I'm assuming so, yes.
Okay, so I find that most races are a learning experience. It doesn't matter if you're hitting your first race or your 10th race. There tends to be lessons learned in all of them, but hopefully as you move on to the later races, you've accumulated some knowledge to avoid some of the common mistakes. Basically, you just have to, I think, especially for the longer races, is kind of visualize ahead of time what might go wrong and visualize yourself successfully getting past that. That might be maybe getting a side cramp or missing a water station or your shoe coming untied, who knows, or you're falling off your pace. Things that could possibly go wrong, and then think, okay, well, how am I going to turn that around into something that I can actually control? Because a lot of times when things go wrong in a race, we freak out, we start panicking and everything's falling apart. But if you kind of have a plan ahead of time, hopefully that'll help avoid, panicking over the mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
That's good. That's so true. The visualization also helps for motivating too. Like if you see the finish line, it's like, okay, I want that finish line.
Yep.
All right, we have Jason Kaufman, and he asked the smartest ways to prepare for running on tired legs if you're doing dopey.
Oh, yeah.
We got a lot of dopies.
Okay, yes. So in challenges like that, and those are becoming very popular now, where you've got 2 or 3 days of back-to-back running, typically with the shorter event first, then you building up to the longer event. The best way to train for that is to kind of simulate it, but at a smaller scale. So and it also depends on what your goals are. Is he going to be trying to run the fastest 5K of his life and, and then, try to have PRs in all of them? Or is it kind of using the 5K as kind of a warm up and then, running a decent half and then, seeing what happens in the marathon? So part of it is looking at what your goals are going to be and then kind of simulate that in training a few times. Running on tired legs is definitely something that you kind of need to train for. Another little trick that I like to do is if you have a bike available, is hopping on your bike and riding your bike pretty hard for a good 30 minutes or so, and then jumping off and running. It's a very weird sensation, and triathletes know exactly. We call it a brick workout because it makes your legs feel funky. But that's a good way to kind of get your legs accustomed and kind of feel what what you're gonna experience probably on that second and third day. And lastly, I would also suggest nutrition is going to come into play in those on those days that you're racing back to back to back. You want to make sure that you don't miss that window, that 20 to 30 minute window after your race, where you're hydrating again. You're getting in a little bit of protein so that your muscles have the best opportunity to recover and be ready for the next day.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. That's really good.
Right
so for me, I need to avoid the beer stand after the half marathon, right?
Oh, I don't know. The whole thing about the brick workout, I'm like,
Yeah. Or even 2-a-days, throwing in a 2-a-day, something just to run on those tired legs. It tends to be more of just knowing what to expect and what it's going to feel like. So,
right.
Yeah.
Speaking of kind of going back to what happened as, planning for your races and things like that, Rebecca asked about any pre-race tips on getting hydrated. She said that she got some flu-like symptoms immediately after her last half marathon. I stopped at almost every water stop. Don't know if I needed more pre-running fuel. Was fine the next day, but that definitely deters me from signing up for more races at that distance or even going farther.
And this was a half marathon?
It was a half marathon that she did that it was kind of nasty afterwards.
Well, whenever you're training for something longer, or really even the shorter ones, if you're having an intense training cycle, during that taper period, you tend to be, your immune system's kind of broken down. Mm-hmm. So you tend to be more susceptible to be getting sick. So if she got sick right afterwards, she probably actually got sick before. There's usually a 3-day kind of turnaround of the 3 days until it actually kind of explodes out of your body. But so she might have gotten, her immune system was down. She probably got sick because of that. That's why it's really important, towards the end of your training, just to make sure you wash your hands and, you're staying away from sick people because you're more likely to get sick. And I like to do, especially before longer races, especially if you know it's going to be in hot weather, is, we know all about the carb loading. I like to do water loading. And just that week before, just making, you don't have to drink a ton more water than normal, but just being really conscious of getting in your water every single day, and making sure you're getting in those, 8 glasses of water or whatever it is for you. That little bit of effort makes a humongous difference in your race. Yeah. I can't remember the exact numbers, but I think it's something like if you're 1% dehydrated, it's like a 5% drop in your time.
Yeah.
Wow. It's huge. Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah.
I have some water here. Let's all take a sip.
Yes. Yeah. I know it's a pain. I work in school, and when I'm drinking my water, I feel like I'm constantly going down the bathroom. But that week before, it makes a huge difference.
Okay.
And it's a challenge if you're traveling for a race case, because you got to pack and you got to tie up things at the office and blah, blah, blah. So that is a really good thing to keep as a reason why. So that's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Christy asks for alternatives to do when injured and training for dopey. And Claire adds another to that one. She says, or any longer race. She missed an 8-miler and her 10-miler, which will be tough this weekend. So she really likes this question.
Okay, so she was injured. Is that what you said?
Yeah, she's asking alternatives to do when injured and training for dopey. So I take she's down now, which sucks. But sorry to hear that, first of all, Christy.
Well, and part of it is going to depend on the type of injury, but I'm assuming it's not so bad that she can't keep training. But depending on the severity, if it's something, you know, not horrible and she can still do some kind of activity, I think cycling is probably the easiest and best replacement for running activity. So for example, if she had an 8-mile run coming up and, you know, whatever's going on and she can't do it, taking that time, let's say it takes her an hour and a half to complete an 8-mile run, she can get on the bike, kind of try to find the gear that simulates that sort of an effort and do it for the hour and a half. Mm-hmm. That might mean going to a gym and getting on a spin bike. If she has a bike and go outside, she can do that. I love being on a trainer because you have more control and can make it harder. Mm-hmm. But if, you know, if you have a gym, you can go to spin class or whatever, but trying to find some activity. So I think, like I said, I think cycling is probably the best alternative. She could also get into the water and do some aqua jogging. Again, just translating how much time it would take her to be on the road. If she's missing a run that maybe is tempo or has intervals or something, she can also kind of replicate that in the pool or on the bike, but just switching everything to time instead of distance. So, you know, if she's got hard quarters outside, maybe every 2 minutes, run hard in the pool or bike hard on the, you know, pick up the pace on the bike. But you also have to keep in mind that you want to heal whatever that injury is. So you want to make sure that whatever you're doing is not aggravating it more. So if it is, it might be best to just take that day off. And I know that that is really, really hard when you're training. Who wants to take that day off? But sometimes a missed run is better than trying to replace it with something else and then just starting a whole, you know, new waterfall of problems.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
Speaking of, you know, it kind of goes into this as well. When you are injured, you end up feeling like you're undertrained, but I'm not sure if it's the same Claire actually. Strategies for a race you're going to be undertrained for. Yeah. I know many of us are getting severely derailed by the smoke and wind associated with the California wildfires. And oh my gosh, yes, we are thinking of you guys out there. So please just be safe. That's
absolutely
my first thing is, but any tips on, you know, because they can't really train outside right now.
Right. So I've got actually 2 clients that live out west.
Oh boy.
Dealing with this right now. My one client, he went out in it. And I was like, that's not a good idea. Let's not do that again. Yeah. So my recommendation would be, if you really feel like you want to get outside at least some of the time, and I know it's a pain, but wear one of the masks. And, you know, and just kind of change your volume of running, change the pace a little bit, but you have to not be breathing that stuff in. It's toxic. Then really the only other thing you can do is hop on that treadmill, you know, and that's what my other guy's doing. He's just switching it all to the treadmill and it stinks, but again, there's not a whole lot of alternatives. If the air outside is unhealthy, all you can do is just bring it out, bring it in, or protect yourself in some manner.
Can you apply some of those, you know, running while you're injured, like the cycling and, you know, indoor cycling or pool running, because it's, you know, it's still cardio. I mean, you're not putting the impact on your body, but you can still do that.
Right. Absolutely. And like, I don't have a treadmill at home, believe it or not. I don't have a treadmill, but I have my bike up on my trainer. Right. So if I don't run outside or I can't for whatever reason, then I will get on my bike. Or I'll find some other activity like the TRX, which I know you're doing now, which I love. And that surprisingly is cardio as well. You know,
it's no joke.
So any fun activity. YouTube has so many great, I love Fitness Blender. They have a ton of fun, Fitness Blender. They're this cute little couple, this little married couple, and they do these videos, and it could be anything from strength training to a cardio to kickboxing, and you just need your little, I have my teeny little basement area, and you can get a great workout in that way.
Well, that kind of goes in with another question that Jen had. She's looking for some good suggestions for cross-training workout. Yeah. So that Fitness Blender sounds like a really good answer to that question as well.
Fantastic. And as Heather and I are doing now, the TRX. Love the TRX, super challenging. I also love bar. I think bar is a great alternative. And again, a lot of these you can do at home. You don't need to go to a gym. If you're self-motivated and you don't want to spend the extra $10, $20, $30 a month to go to the gym, YouTube, again, Fitness Blender, the girl has an awesome bar routine on there. And it's deceptively hard. It looks so easy, but then when you're doing these plies 1,000 times rolling, now you're like, oh, it's like killing.
I'm checking that out.
Yes.
I'm like sitting here like soaking in all this as well the viewers. I'm excited about that.
Love it. Yeah, look up the bar routine.
Okay.
And
Bar's hard. Oh my gosh. I did bar once.
Yes. I know. I will never forget the first time I did bar. I did it in a class. And I walked in and they had weights, and they said, everybody grab, so a set of dumbbells, and it was like 1 pound.
Right.
And I was like, what the heck did I walk into like wussy class, So I'm like, all right, I'll grab the 3s, but when you're doing like, they were doing these back fly movement, and I was literally like 100 reps. I was like, oh
my gosh.
So it's a high rep activity. So, but yeah.
Now, can you use like a chair or something if you don't have an actual bar or something to grip to? Okay.
Chair. Yep, absolutely. Sometimes I'll use the railing of my stairs, from the bar. But there are so many, a lot of it's just exploring what's out there for you. There are so many great cross-training activities. And I think, especially if you're looking for something to supplement your running, make it fun and make it more strength-based and upper body and core, because the running does a lot of cardio, does a lot for your legs, but it kind of neglects your core and your upper body. So looking for activities that incorporate those areas would be a good idea.
Right. So we've got a couple of really great questions. Lindsay asks, I'm looking for the best stretches and exercises to combat runner's knee. And this kind of goes back into the Fitness Blender and bar and all of that, but do you have any other thoughts about runner's knee specifically?
Yeah. So it depends, but one of the best things I think that runners can do are balancing exercises. A lot of times when you have runner's knee, it's like a tracking issue. Or your muscles and ligaments on either side of your knee are just not able to keep your knee tracked correctly. And that causes the pain.
Okay.
If you do balancing exercise, this is also great if you ever have an ankle injury, which a few years back, I had a massive ankle injury. Like I tore everything in my ankle. Yeah, it was awful. It was awful. And, but that's how I kind of started incorporating the balancing stuff. When you do any kind of balancing, and you can just start just on the floor, 1 foot at a time, just picking up your foot. But you can get way more advanced. You can get to closing your eyes. You can get to leaning forward and touching the floor. You can use a balance board, the wobble boards, or one of those little cushion things. And what that does then is it activates all your proprioceptive muscles. So everything that's around all your major muscles gets stronger and tighter. And then it can, so if you do have a weakness somewhere, it kind of helps support those areas that might not be as strong as they need to be. So for example, my ankle, once you twist an ankle really badly, it's kind of like an old rubber band that once it's stretched, it kind of stays that way. It's like floppy. They call it like a floppy ankle. So if you work on the balance skills, that helps strengthen all the ligaments and muscles around the weaker part, and then kind of help, keep it from re-injuring. So that would be a good idea. And then, while it's actually inflamed, you got to just throw ice on it. And, if she can handle taking some ibuprofen after runs, things like that. But I think tackling and making sure that it's strong is going to be the key.
This question comes from me.
Okay.
I'm kind of loosely following the Jeff Galloway and for Dopey. I did come into it with no base because I just healed from an injury, a 10-month injury. So I'm kind of loosely following that with a lot of walking in and cross training. My question is, he recommends that you go, you do 26 miles about 3 weeks prior. Yeah. I've done Hal Higdon before, and he said 20. And I'm just kind of getting your thoughts on which one?
Okay, so that's like the never-ending little controversy in the whole running coaching world.
I'm controversial today.
It is. It is a controversial issue. So are you doing the walk-run method then?
It depends if I'm running with my running partner.
Okay.
I'm going to say no. I'm going to be running flat out.
Okay. Okay. All right. So that kind of plays into it as well, going that distance. Here's the thing with the last longest run that you do, or how many 20 or plus milers you do. They say you need after a 20-mile run, you need a good 2 weeks to fully recover and to fully see the benefit of that run. The benefits of it really don't kick in right away. If you're doing a 26-miler run, you are, so everybody has about 18 to 20 miles of naturally stored ability to get through the run. Once you hit, that's why people hit the wall. At like 18 to 20 is what you're naturally capable of kind of, is gone. So once you start diving into that over 20 area, you start tapping into resources that, unless you're really, really careful with your nutrition, really, really careful with how you're fueling on that run, taps your body out a lot more than it would if you're going 20 or less miles. I hope I'm explaining this right. I'm not the best explainer in the world.
Yeah.
So once you start going over 21, 22 miles, it's a different stress on your body. And anyone that, even if you run a marathon easy, you're a special kind of sore versus after a 20-mile run. So now if you have a 26-mile training run, you're looking at 3 to 4 weeks of recovery from that.
Right.
So then it inhibits, I think, the training that you're doing afterwards. So you run a 26-mile run, your training for the next 2 weeks is going to be basically recovery mode from that long run.
Mm-hmm.
I think that if you are like an elite runner, or if you're a runner that's run hundreds of marathons, dozens of marathons, and you know your body and you know that you can handle that, okay. If you're truly using the Galloway method and you're doing a lot of walking, you're doing the walk-run method or something, maybe. I think that's still a lot of time on your feet for a training run. It's been shown that if you can complete a 20 to 21 miler, you're okay getting through the marathon distance. It's that last 5 or 6 miles, you don't need to cover it in training in order to cover it on race day. So I'm a proponent, and I know some people like just mentally being able to say, I can do it in practice. I can do it on race day. For those people, I say, well, let's go 1 or 2 miles over 20. Let's go 21, 22, and then that's it. Or you can run a 20-miler and then the next day get up and do 4 or 5 miles, if that kind of simulates a little bit of that fatigue that you will feel, right? But yeah, I personally believe that most people, the longest long run they need to do is 20 miles. And depending on your training, it's 3 weeks out is ideal. If you're a first timer or you're having issues, 4 weeks out.
Yeah. I'm glad you said that, because I've always just done 20, but I had no basis of fact, and I was worried you'd be like, yes, Lord, get out there and do your 26. So good.
Yeah.
I'm sticking with 20.
I think it's,
Coach Christine said so.
Coach Christine, that's what I always say. Coach Christine said.
Like it.
I like a lot of 20 milers depending on,
okay.
I like a lot of 18. Like if you go to the Another Mother Runner book, the training one, and you look at my plan for marathoning for the advanced group, it's a lot of mileage, there's a lot of mileage being put in, but we don't go over 20.
Right. Yeah. I think you have a couple of 20 milers on that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
On the Own It plan, but yeah.
Chad would love a conversation of how to determine if you are eating correctly for training as well as during race weekend, at least until Sunday night when it's margaritas and beers in Mexico. So I'm assuming he's doing dopey, by the way.
He's got his priorities straight.
Yeah,
he's got his
but that's Sunday night, so he's good.
There. So well, when you're training, you have to eat a little bit differently than when you're just, it's for a person that's not training. A lot of times people kind of have a sense of what they need to do and how they should be eating. It's just a matter more of actually implementing it. So when you're training, and especially if he's doing the longer runs, you really need to make sure that what you're eating before important runs or longer runs or really hard runs, that you're eating something that's going to fuel your run. That's why a lot of times I won't call it just eating or diet. I call it your fueling, because that's what you're doing when you are in hardcore training really long. You're not just eating to eat anymore. You're eating so that you have energy to put forth towards your training runs. So what you eat before and after, also super important, because you want to set your body up to recover from whatever effort you just put it through. And that's why I mentioned earlier that you've got that 20 or 30 minute window where when you deplete, especially after long runs, and especially those 18 to 20 milers where your glycogen stores are depleted, your muscles are like sponges at that point, but only for a very short amount of time. So making sure that you grab some protein and grab a little bit of carbs within that short window is so super important. And I know not everybody can handle eating, a sandwich or whatever within that time frame. So just having a shake available or running by and getting a smoothie somewhere can often just be enough to kind of let your muscles soak that stuff back in and kind of help the healing. There's so many little micro tears that happen in your muscles that only proper fueling is going to be able to repair. Then during the race and during, if he's going to be racing back to back to back, I would recommend he stay more carb based and more easily digestible. Particularly if there's someone that's got some stomach issues and things like that. You don't want to be eating anything that's going to take a long time to digest. You want to keep things fairly light. You can get some protein, but maybe like chicken instead of like a steak, because that's going to be sitting in there the next morning.
Oh yeah.
Digesting, because your body is going to it's going to want to put its resources and its blood pumping and energy towards your working muscles in the race. So if you ate something heavy, it's just going to sit there. So keeping it lighter, you might, want to stick to, and even having like a bar, like cereal bars and stuff like that right before the race, a couple 100 calories. But yeah, things that are easily digestible.
Mm-hmm. So I wonder if the fake cheese that comes in the Run Disney lunch boxes works. I don't know. It's probably not the best thing. I don't know.
Is that what they have? Is that what they put in there?
They have this little plate. Have you ever had it, Laura? I've never had it.
I have some in my pantry. I let myself eat half of one, but they don't have any protein, so you can't.
There's like nothing in it.
A snack box for protein. I do know that is a fact. So they used to have like little Builder Bar protein bars in it, and they don't do that anymore. So
okay, so that might be something that you want to stash.
Yes.
Somewhere,
throw it in your gear bag or anything like that. So,
and that brings up actually a good point, is making sure that you know what the race course offers. It may be that you don't need to carry anything or bring anything if it has what you like and what you need. Or I have people that if a race course has Gatorade but they can't handle the Gatorade, then you got to bring something with you. So making sure you know what the course has available is important.
Yes, that's a good one.
Exactly. I think that is about all the time we have. Christine, where can we find you anywhere? I know you have a YouTube channel now.
Oh, well, trying to have one. September and October has been crazy busy, so I haven't been able to do a whole lot with that. That is still kind of an egg that's cracking open for me. But you can find me at therunningcoach.com.
That is going to do it for Vlogtober Day 15. Laura and I would love to thank you, Coach Christine, for joining us today. This was a lot of fun, and we didn't get to all of the questions, but we definitely we enjoyed
having to have you back on.
Yes, we will.
Come back.
We'll thank you so much.
So it was a lot of fun. So Christine, anything you want to add here before you?
The only thing I would add is just make sure that no matter what you're training for or what your goals are, that you always kind of take yourself back to why you started running in the first place. and always make sure that you realize and appreciate where you've come from.
Yes.
Right.
Okay.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, it's so true. It's so true. So we still have half of Vlogtober still coming, but that is it for all of us. Everybody, thank you so much for watching. That is it for us today. If you have any further questions for Coach Christine, I would be happy to forward those on to her. I'm leaving all of the links to how you can find her and how you can find Joyful Miles. Head over to both of those channels and subscribe to them. And all of that stuff is in the description box below, so please check them out as well. As always, give me a thumbs up if you like this video. And that's it. Get out there, go find your awesome. We'll see you next time. Until then, happy running.
Take care, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.
It's Vlogtober.